Vanessa. Look okay, Bill?
Good.
Thanks, sir.
Sure.
We're good.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your patience. And we welcome everybody. Good morning, and we will call to order the regular meeting of the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, October 24 of 2023. We do ask if you brought a cell phone of any sort, if you could put it on silent or vibrate, we'd appreciate you doing that. And note that we always start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we follow that with a moment of silence, if you could stay standing for that. And finally, I'll note Commissioner Spielvogel had a family matter to tend to, so everything's fine, but she just had a family commitment, so hopefully she'll be back next week. So, but we have a quorum. So if you wouldn't mind standing, and we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Vanasco, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. Vanessa, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Commissioner Buick,
Present.
Commissioner Vogler.
Here, we do have a quorum. As long as there's two of us up here, we can conduct county business. We always set aside time, both at the beginning of the meeting and prior to adjournment, for public comments. We welcome public comments. We ask that they be related to county government matters, and also if you can try to limit your time to about 5 minutes if possible. But again, you can speak twice, you can speak once, or if you're just here to listen, that's also equally fine. Next on the agenda, row officer reports and comments. We don't have any row officers in attendance today. Just to clarify, they're not required to be here. We put that on the agenda in the event they happen to be here and wish to report anything. So there's no legal requirement that row officers have to attend commissioner meetings. So that takes us to public comments. Let me open it up and see if anybody has at this time a comment they wish to make. Or if you'd like to wait till the end of the meeting, that's equally fine. Yes, ma'am.
I see JPO on here. What's that?
Oh, JPO stands for Juvenile Probation Office. And where did you see that?
On the front page.
Under transfers.
Oh, under transfers? Yes, yes, I'm glad you caught that. Juvenile Probation Office. And then slightly below that, you'll see APO. That's Adult Probation Office. Those two offices actually report ultimately to the president judge. But every county has a juvenile probation office, and every county has an adult probation office. The law requires it. Appreciate your asking that question. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you all, and we'll reopen it before we adjourn. Under fiscal and contractual, this is the point in time where we give consideration to repository bids, of which there are 4 today for us to consider. We'll start with the first one. And Vanessa, what number would we assign this?
399.
399, thank you. As we've explained before, the county's tax claim office is the custodian of repository properties that have been up for delinquent tax sale, have gone through both the sales, the free and clear, and the initial sale. And at neither of those sales, if they have sold, they then end up in the repository. People can come in and look at the list of repository properties and submit bids to purchase those properties. And the rules are such that all 3 taxing bodies must agree to the bid in order for the bid to be accepted. So we'll start with the first one that has come in. This property is located in Mahoning Township, and the parcel ID number is 24-902728. It's It's located at 142 Gary Lane. And a $500 bid was made by Randy Hewlings. The bid has been accepted by both the Mahoning Township Supervisors and the Mohawk Area School District. So now it comes before the Board of Commissioners, and we can take this for a vote if the board is so willing.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burek, and I will second your motion to accept this bid. Do you have any concerns or comments?
Now, what resolution number are we on?
$399.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a motion and a second for $399, which would accept the $500 bid. If there are no other comments, I'll ask Vanessa to call the roll.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you, Vanessa. Next, also in Mahoning Township, this would be proposed resolution 400. This is a $500 bid made by NMDS 167E Mobile LLC. And the bid is for a parcel number 24903189 located at 167 Green Lane. The bid has been accepted by both the Mahoning Township Supervisors and the Mohawk Area School District or School Board, and it now comes for us for consideration. Mr. Burek, if you have a desire to make a motion,
So moved.
thank you, and I will second your motion and see if you have any questions.
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you. The next resolution, proposed 401. This parcel, number 31-320300, is located on Alborn Avenue in Shenango Township. It is a $500 bid from Jarrell Jones. I hope I pronounced Mr. Jones's first name correctly. It has been accepted by the Shenango Township Supervisors and the School Board of the Shenango Area School District. So it now comes before the Board of Commissioners. I'll see what Mr. Burek wishes to do.
Move for its approval.
I thank you, and I will second your motion, and I'll see if you have any comments or questions.
No.
Thank you. I'll ask Vanessa to call the roll.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you. Finally, a bid was made on parcel number 31401300. The bid amount is $608. The bidder is 2VIN Home Investments. And again, I'll note this is also in Shenango Township. The bid was rejected by the Shenango Township Board of Supervisors. The bid was accepted by the Shenango Area School District. And I just reiterate the fact that in order for a bid to be accepted, all three taxing bodies must agree to it. So this proposed resolution 402 is now before us to consider.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just note that Shenango Township Supervisors rejected this bid because it's condemned and on the township demolition list. So do you want a motion to reject or do you want a motion to approve and then we can vote no?
That's generally what we've done on, your second thought is what we've generally done on issues where there's been a rejection.
Based on the fact that the township voted to reject this bid, I move that we also reject resolution 402.
I'll second your motion. So the motion is to reject the bid as submitted. Any further discussion?
No.
Thank you. Vanessa, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. Once again, make it clear, the motion that was just passed rejects the bid. So accordingly, 2 of the 3 taxing bodies have rejected the bid. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have warrant registers that have been submitted to us by the County Controller's Office, dated October 18 and October 20. And they are available if anybody wishes to take a look at them. Brian, I'll give you what time you might need to look them over, and whenever you're ready, I could take a motion for us to accept these documents.
I'll move for the acceptance of the warrant registers dated October 18th and October 20th.
Thank you, sir, and I will second your motion. Do you have any concerns or questions?
None.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask Vanessa to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Buick,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. We have in our packet the minutes of the Commissioners' public meeting that was held 1 week ago today. Give you some time to look them over, and I'd be glad to accept a motion to adopt these minutes whenever you're ready, Mr. Buick.
I'll move for approval of the minutes of October 17th as submitted.
And I will second your motion. Any discussion? Vanessa, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Buick,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you so much. We move down to Commissioner reports and comments, and it looks like I get to go first today. I do want to note that on Thursday of this week, there will be a ceremony that will take place in courtroom number 1, which is Judge Motto's courtroom. As many of you know, a number of years ago, he initiated treatment court, which has had a good deal of success dealing with folks who have issues that deal with addiction. And the program that he has initiated and has worked closely with a lot of the folks on staff here at the courthouse has quite honestly kept people from going to jail, and tried to get people to move in a positive direction, and in many instances that has happened. The treatment court is going to be receiving accreditation from the Commonwealth, and we're very honored on Thursday to have the Chief Justice of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, Justice Deborah Todd, will be in attendance at the ceremony. And we're proud of the fact that she is a native of Lawrence County. She grew up in Elwood City. She's a graduate of Lincoln High School. And she now sits on the highest court in the Commonwealth. In fact, she's the Chief Justice, the first female Chief Justice of the highest court of the Commonwealth. So it's a real privilege and honor to have her attend here this coming Thursday. So we commend Judge Motto and all of the folks who play an active role in the treatment court program. I believe that's all I have to note, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Buick.
Thank you. Vanessa, I'll give you a copy of my comments. I pre-typed them and edited them this time.
Okay.
Last week, Commissioner Vogler and I attended the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center Advisory Board Luncheon meeting, and once again, I was impressed by the students we met there. The outstanding meal was prepared by students in the restaurant trade shop. For the discussion portion of the meeting, I was seated with 2 young women who were seniors this year, and they shared their positive experiences at the school and their plans for after graduation. One was in the cosmetology shop, but planned to do that as a side career while she pursued a degree and career in broadcast journalism. The other student was one of only 2 females in the electrical occupation shop, but she is planning to join the United States Air Force and pursue a career in avionics. I commend all the teachers at the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center and the director, Mr. Rich, and Principal Kayaza for the excellent job they do preparing their students at the school. As the school earned a high success rate on the NOCTI exams. NOCTI is the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute, which provides testing to provide verification of the knowledge and skills expected by an industry as taught by each shop at the school. So just like in academics, they have the Keystone exams. At career and technical schools, they have the NOCTI exams. And I was very impressed with the success rate. The students coming out of the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center have proven skills and knowledge. Many of them are able to go right into the workforce, and many of them are able to use those skills later on in their careers. I also attended the monthly meeting of the Southwest Pennsylvania Commission on behalf of the county, and we received updates on 3 regional initiatives. First was the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant that Southwest Pennsylvania received. The second was the United Planning Work Program from the Regional Director of Transportation Planning. And finally, an update on the Interagency Working Group on Coal and Power Plant Communities and Economic Revitalization Activities. And that was given by the Director of Workforce and Economic Development. And then finally, last evening, Commissioner Spielvogel and I attended the 20th Taste of the Town event held by the United Way of Lawrence County. It was very well attended, and as usual, there were many area restaurants represented with a great variety of delicious food samples available to enjoy. I want to thank the United Way board and volunteers, especially the event chair, Joanne Preston, and United Way staff, Gail Young and Myra Thompson, for putting on a great event once again to raise money that supports many excellent charities here in Lawrence County. And if there's anyone who never attended that event, it's held every year in October. It's an outstanding way to sample great food from area restaurants and also support the United Way's charitable efforts. Those are my comments.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. In fact, if you'll allow me to add one thing to the comments you made about the Career and Technical Center, or as us old timers still say sometimes, the VOTEC. I noted when we were out there last week, I serve on a scholarship committee. It's the Jack Butts Humanitarian Scholarship Committee. Mr. Butts was a well-known local businessman who actually passed away about 20 years ago. But before he passed, he created a scholarship, and he had some very interesting ground rules for this scholarship. He said, here's how I want it done. He said, I want the guidance counselors in all of the county school districts, including the Career and Technical Center. He was adamant about that. He said, I want each guidance counselor to nominate a student who best exemplifies humanitarianism. And he said, then I want a group of my friends to serve on a committee to interview each of these 9 students. And he said, the top person, based on the judge's decision, will receive a set amount for their college scholarship. One of the other ground rules that he established was, he said, I don't want any student to walk out of there empty-handed. So he made certain that every student gets at least something from the scholarship fund. So every year, 9 students are nominated, and 9 students get money from the scholarship fund that Mr. Butts formed. The reason for all this background is that for 2 years in a row, this year and the previous year, the winners, the high winners, have been from the Career and Technical Center, which I think speaks volumes for the education they're receiving. It speaks volumes for their families that are, the moms and dads that are raising them, or family members that are raising them. But it speaks volumes for the teachers out there and staff out there as well. So I think the folks at CTC can be proud of the fact that 2 years in a row now, students from that school have been the top recipient of that scholarship. So thank you for noting that, Brian. We'll move on to new business. Ali Chapuzio. Ali, did I say your last name right?
You did.
Okay. Would you mind just please having a seat there? The reason we do is so the microphone picks you up.
Okay.
We appreciate, Ali is with our tax claim office, And Ally, we appreciate your joining us today. We've got a couple resolutions to present to us, and we'll start with the first one, which would be 403, I
Yes.
believe. And every year we go through this process following the free and clear sales, I believe. So the first one, proposed resolution 403, this would be noting here that certain properties remain unsold and are currently on Lawrence County's repository list. And it says the county, 2023 county road and school taxes on these properties remain unpaid. The properties must be removed from the current tax roll. Just to clarify too, the word road tax essentially means the municipal tax, the city, borough, or township tax. So the first proposal does have a listing of properties. Ally, do you have anything that you wish to add to this first one? Just to enter into the record, many of these are from throughout the county. There are a good number of them from the city of Newcastle, but there are also parcels from the borough of Elwood City, New Beaver Borough, Hickory Township, Mahoning Township, Pulaski Township, Shenango Township, Taylor Township, Union Township, and Wayne Township. Mr. Burek, do you have questions of Ally?
No, so these are properties that remain in the repository. No questions. I move for the approval of resolution 403.
I'll second your motion, Brian. And if there are no other comments, I'll ask Vanessa to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Buick,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. The next proposed resolution 404 references the judicial tax sale that was held on April 28th. It notes that these properties were sold free and clear of all municipal claims, and that a portion of the proceeds paid all delinquent taxes and part of the county and road or municipal taxes on two properties, both of which are located in the city of Newcastle. Ally, do you have anything else to add on this proposed resolution?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I assume that, I probably should have just asked at the outset that you and Mrs. Foster are recommending to us that we approve these, is that right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
good, since we already approved one of them. So now we'll take this second one. This is proposed resolution 404. There are two parcels, one in the first ward of the city and the other in the 8th ward of the city. Mr. Burek, I'll turn it over to you for any questions or concerns or a motion if you're so willing.
I move for the adoption of resolution 404.
And I will second your motion, and unless you have any other concerns, I guess we could do a roll call.
Commissioner Buick,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you. The next proposed resolution, 405, again references the judicial tax sale held on April 28 of this year. These properties were sold free and clear of all municipal claims. And after all delinquent taxes are paid, the county and road taxes or municipal taxes are to be paid at face value for the current year. It also notes that after all delinquent taxes were paid and there were no additional proceeds, the county and road taxes on the attached list are exonerated for 2023. There are 4 of them. The first is in the 2nd ward of the city of Newcastle. The second property is in the 4th ward of the city of Newcastle. Third property is in the borough of Wampum, and the 4th property is in Neshannock Township. Ally, anything you want to add over and above this?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burek, questions for Ally?
Now this, the third whereas, county and road tax will be paid at face for the current year. And then the now therefore line is that the county road taxes be exonerated for 2023. I want to make sure, is that correct? For the current year is 2023. Just want to make sure the wording on this is correct.
Yeah, these properties
the bid was over 500, but they were not enough to cover all of the current taxes within the sale.
I got you, okay. Right, depending on the sale price, okay.
And we
Thank you for that explanation. That
Sure.
was just confusing at first. It's been a little while since I looked at one of these.
You probably, I'm sure you did this when you were here before,
Right.
right? Once a year.
That was, yeah, that was many years ago,
Yeah.
yes, thank
It's
you.
all coming
That's-
back.
Yes, thanks for the
You're
explanation.
welcome. Okay,
That'd
that's,
be resolution 405.
yes,
I'll move for its approval.
I thank you. I will second your motion. If there are no other concerns, we'll ask Vanessa to call the roll.
Commissioner Buick,
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you. Proposed resolution 406, again, dealing with the judicial tax sale from April 28. These properties were sold free and clear of all municipal claims. After all delinquent taxes are paid, the county and road taxes are to be paid at face for the current year. And because the properties were sold for $500 and that there were no proceeds to pay the 2023 taxes, the county and municipal taxes on the attached list of properties are exonerated. These properties are located in the city of Newcastle, Little Beaver Township, Mahoning Township, North Beaver Township, Pulaski Township, Union Township, and Wayne Township. This is proposed resolution 406. Ally, anything you need to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Brian, concerns or questions?
that I move for the adoption of resolution 2023-406.
Thank you, and I'll second your motion. If there are no other comments, we can have Vanessa call the roll.
Commissioner Buick,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you. Well, again, this is a formality, but it's part of the whole process that we have to follow every year. And it allows everything that we've done to become part of the record. And that way you have it in your files. And we've taken the formal action. So Ally, anything else you have for us today?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Brian, anything you need from Ally?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we know you're short-staffed, so please.
I was
if you
gonna say,
have to
I will head back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Take care. Next on the agenda, we have a lot of transfers today. And that's, at this time of year, it's not unusual. We're getting towards the end of the fiscal year, and some of our departments have budget line items where they've reached a point they need to add a little more to meet their expenses through the end of the year. But on other line items, they have dollars available that allow them to transfer. And I looked these over, and if I'm not mistaken, they're all within their own budgets. They're not looking to the commissioners for assistance. So let's walk through these. Brian, as I go through them, stop me if you have any questions, please.
We can do them all, since they're all administrative, do them all in one
And one
vote.
motion, if you're okay with that? Okay. I do want to enter them into the record, and then that way also gives you the chance if you need to ask a question.
Thank you.
But I agree, if you're willing
There's
to
too many
make it.
to do the
Yeah.
individual votes,
You'll
so.
be here a long time, so thank you. The district attorney's office is asking for a $3,500 transfer, all coming from their travel and training line item. $1,500 is going into the vehicle expense line item, and $2,000 is going into their vehicle line item. Also from the district attorney's office, they are asking for a transfer of $8,136.30. Of that, $1,343 is coming from their travel expense prisoner line item, going into their toxicology line item. And then from their contingency, $6,793.30 going into, it's listed as witness fees. That's the line item. It's interesting though, under the explanation, it's for homicide expert fees. Just yesterday, in the trial that's taking place upstairs in Judge Motto's courtroom, they had to utilize an expert witness. And expert witnesses get paid for what they do. And we've had some homicide trials this year that have had a necessity for expert witnesses, which is why we have this transfer request. The sheriff's office is asking for a $2,000 transfer from their line item of salary of deputies into that of uniforms. The Sheriff's Office is also requesting a transfer within their budget. They're asking for a $25,000 transfer from salaries of deputies into that of overtime. They do have fewer deputies, which has led to, in some instances, more overtime being needed. Again, they're able to cover this within their budget. Juvenile probation. The total request is for $2,510. It's all coming out of their contingency line item. $60 is going to postage. $1,000 is going towards vehicle expense, specifically new tires. $1,200 is going to office equipment, and $250 is going to materials and supplies. Adult probation is asking for a $500 transfer from their contingency line item into that of vehicle expense, but specifically it's to cover the cost of fuel for their vehicles to get them through the balance of the year. We all know what the price of fuel has done lately. Under the assessor's office, they are asking for a $1,000 transfer from their contingency line item into that of postage. And again, in fairness to the assessment office, when their budget was formulated about a year ago, stamps cost this much. Halfway through the year, we didn't know it was coming, but stamps now cost that much, which leads to why they need to make this transfer. The voter's office. This is a lengthy one, so please bear with me. The total transfer is $51,857.10. Of that, $2,098.33 is coming from their contingency into that of postage. Also from their contingency, $2,758.77 into FICA expense, which I believe is the same as Social Security, if I'm not mistaken. From their line item of travel and training, they're taking $846.05 into unemployment insurance. Under their advertising line item, they wish to transfer $7,500 into employee benefits. Under their materials and supplies, they are asking for $23,572.10 into the line item of employee benefits. Under contracted services, they're asking for $12,000 moved into wages of outside registrars. Under their materials and supplies, they're wishing to take $1,427.90 into wages of outside registrars. And then finally, they would like to take $1,653.95 from travel and training also into wages of outside registrars. And Brian, help me with this. I'm assuming those last three are to assist in paying folks who work at the polling places on election day. That's my assumption. Maybe Joe knows, but I'm guessing that's what
Yeah,
it's.
it's the outside people that work the polling, but also the part-time, the people who come in here and work during the election season.
Right.
So what happened was there was an election integrity grant, which paid for a lot. Well, that ended and was closed out in June. So there was June, July, August, September, and now in October, we're back under a new election integrity grant, but we had to fill the gap for those months.
Understood. You chair the election board. Anything you wish to add? I think Joe summarized it very well.
No, he's right. As you see, because of the seasonal nature of the work, we have 3 or 4 extra people we hire for a few months right around election. You see everything out here. They get everything, the prep work for the election coming up in November. So, and of course, then afterwards, so for about a month or two, he has several extra people working season.
Thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate the clarification. That grant, by the way, those grants that Joe referenced did come from the Commonwealth. I believe they were made available to every county in the state. So I think there were a handful of counties that declined the grant, maybe 2 or 3 that I'm aware of. Obviously, we didn't say no, and it's been very helpful to us. Those are the transfer requests that we have received. Brian, do you have any questions or concerns about any of them?
No, I will move that we approve the administrative transfers as you just detailed and listed on the agenda.
Well, I thank you, and I will second your motion. There are no other concerns. We'll ask Vanessa to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. We'll move down to ordinances. You may recall, for those who were here last week, Mr. Zona presented to us a proposed ordinance tying in with the municipal waste management ordinance under the recycling and solid waste office here in the county. This is ordinance number 2. We have to keep it on the table for one more week, and then next week we can take it up for consideration for a vote. So I'm just noting the fact that this ordinance remains on the table, and that our expectation is that we will most likely consider it for a vote a week from today. The complete ordinance is available in our office upstairs if anybody would wish to read it. It's also at the county law library, if anybody wishes to see it. Brian, anything you wish to add about this?
Just that as mentioned last week, the commissioners have to appoint local residents to a committee called the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And so I think we have to finalize that list. If there's anyone in the county who'd be interested in participating in that process, just to give feedback, I'd encourage them to contact us, but we need to finalize that as well in the next week or two.
Thank you for noting that. I appreciate it. Under announcements, the commissioners will reconvene 1 week from today, October 31, at 10 a.m. in this room, and that meeting is open to the public. It's not listed on your agenda, but I should note that 2 weeks from today is election day. And traditionally, what we've done, the courthouse will be open that day. However, the commissioners do not have a public meeting on election day. And do you know, usually the election board meets on the day before. Do you know if that's planned this time?
Yes, we have a election board meeting scheduled for Monday, November 6th. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I also mentioned the commissioners working with the sheriff and the elections office have decided to keep open the courthouse will be open that Monday, November 6th, the day before the election, until 6 p.m. just for poll watchers and anyone working on election day who can't get here by 4 o'clock Monday. We are going to stay open an extra 2 hours. And then on election day itself, we're going to open at 7 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. Again, myself and Mr. Germaini, the elections director, will be available those extra 3 hours just to make it more convenient for anyone who's working the polls those days. Yeah, the no commissioners meeting that day, but the courthouse will be open and we'll be here from 7 a.m. until whatever time we get done that night. Luckily, in the primary, we were done by 10 p.m. We had the results tabulated, tabulated and posted to the county website. So the goal again is to get them up and running. I think within 2 hours of the polls closing, every precinct around the county returns their computer flash drive from that site. It's brought here and all plugged into our central computer, and we can tabulate the results fairly quickly now with our current system. So that's the goal.
Well, I can give you folks a great deal of credit because you got to remember too, the polls close at 8 o'clock. The folks working those polling places, and I think you would know this and appreciate it, there's all the concluding work that you have to do right after 8 o'clock. And you pack everything up, and then we've got folks, Enon Valley, Plain Grove, New Bedford, Wurtemberg, that have a fairly long way to get here. A good 25 minutes or so, maybe half hour to get up here. And all that being said, you still have these results pretty much concluded by 10:30 or so. That's a real credit to everybody, how efficient it is.
Right, it's a collection of the staff that works plus the system and the software that we use now is very, very quick and tabulated. We're both old enough to remember election day where every precinct hand wrote the results and posted it on the door. I grew up on the east side of Newcastle and we voted at Rose Avenue School for many years. And I remember going at 2, 3, 4 a.m. and my family was always interested in politics. My parents both ran for office different times. And so we would actually go and then wait when they posted the handwritten results on the door of the precinct. And it wasn't until usually the next day or a few days afterwards until you had a good idea of what the results are. Now. With technology, we're able to get the results on election night fairly quickly.
And I appreciate your leadership as chair of the election board, and that of Mr. Vicari and Attorney Seltzer as well.
Thank you.
Let me open the floor up for public comments if anyone wishes to make them. Yes, ma'am.
I have about 4 questions and 2 comments.
Sure.
And I think it's best to address them one at a time.
Absolutely.
Okay, the number 400, discussion and possible approval in Mahoning Township. Number 24, 903, 189. Those numbers and LLC. This is a business of some kind. I'd like to know if you know what kind of business that is.
My assumption is that it is a business, but I do not know the nature of the business. Mr. Burek?
They would have to be obviously registered with the Commonwealth, but I don't know right off who owns that business.
Now, the tax claim office would be able to share that with you. If you want to stop up there, they could tell you who this entity is. But both individuals and businesses have the right to make these repository bids.
Okay, number 402 is property number 31, 401, 300 in Shenango Township. And if it was scheduled for demolition, why was it rejected?
Well, that would be a question that the Shenango Township supervisors would be able to answer. As Mr. Burek noted, what's on the form simply says the property is condemned and it's on the township demo list. Now that leads me to believe that the building is probably still standing since it's still on the list. So I'm guessing it has not yet been demolished. But the supervisors would be the ones who would be able to tell you their reasons for rejecting the bid. Now, I will note that what we've always tried to do is respect the will of the local municipality. We've never tried to second guess them. If they have concerns or trepidations about approving something and they ultimately reject it, again, they're closest to it. And we've generally respected their point of view. And you saw that we did that today as well.
Okay, under number D, warrant register, what are those?
Oh, we'll show them to you. These are the, now I usually give my packet to Debbie.
It's the list of checks that the controller's office has issued.
And we'll give you a copy.
You can see where the county spends their money. It's a multi-step process. Before checks are cut, a purchase order comes to the commissioners. It's reviewed by the county administrator and the commissioners. We approve it.
Absolutely.
And then once the work is completed or the product is purchased with the signed purchase order, then the controller's office gets that completed purchase order back, and then they issue the checks. But this is a list of all the checks that have been issued in the last couple weeks.
You may have these. We don't need to have them back.
Public record what we spend money on. So now a lot of these individuals may be, there's various people. There's people on here that are foster parents who the county children, they get checks from the county to help them take care of the kids that are in their placement. We have other individuals that provided a service or a good to the county, but those are the list of checks that have been issued.
Certification of the treatment program on Thursday, what time is that?
9:30. Courtroom 1.
Okay. Now the transfers that were made, what is the end of the fiscal year?
December 31. We run on a calendar year basis.
Okay, and if these transfers are being made now, will they need to make more transfers before December 31?
More often than not, no, unless an unanticipated issue arises that would require us to do so. That might be something that, good example, you heard us mention some county vehicles. We'll just use the sheriff's office just as an example. You always run the risk of something happening to a vehicle that you don't expect to happen. The transmission may go out, you might have an issue with a vehicle that you don't expect. So we can't rule that out from happening. And if that line item is either depleted or nearly depleted and can't cover those unanticipated costs, yes, we might have to make another transfer. But I always use the equation that, like at our homes, I get an electric bill and I get a water bill. And sometimes my electric bill's higher than I would have expected. And then sometimes maybe my water bill isn't quite as high, depending upon my usage. And that's how I would equate this in terms of why we have to make these transfers.
So these are actual expenses, they're not accounting for any anticipated expenses.
These are, yes, these are expenses that they need to cover, yes.
Okay.
And again, we're making transfers within their budget in order to cover those expenses.
Okay, well, I thank you for okaying the transfer from voters for wages of outside registrars, so we get paid.
Good.
And I just want to comment also on the Jack Butts Award. Butts was my maiden name.
B-U-T-Z?
Yes,
Were you related to Jack?
I don't know, I never knew he existed until I moved to Lawrence County.
He was a friend of mine. You knew him.
I did.
He was a dear friend of mine. And I don't want to hold us up too long, but the genesis of his scholarship is an interesting story, and I'll be brief. Jack did a lot in this community. He was very generous, but he never sought the limelight, the spotlight. So back around the year 2000, 1999, right about that time, there were a group of people in Newcastle that approached him and said, Jack, we want to have a reception for you just to thank you for everything you've done for this community. And he told them no. He said, I don't do it for the recognition. He said, so I don't want to have a reception. Well, they went back to him a couple of times and said, Jack, we really think you're deserving of this. And he finally said, all right, you can have your reception, but here's how it's, Jack was kind of like this. He said, here's how it's going to work. Whatever money you raise from this reception, I'll match that money and we'll start this scholarship. So sure enough, they did have a beautiful reception. You might have been there. It was up at the cathedral.
I went
There
to
were
it.
about 500 people there. And the proceeds were established, and I don't know what that initial amount was, but whatever it was, he doubled it with his input. And that's how this scholarship got started. But sadly, he only lived about 3 more years to see the results of his scholarship. But 20 years later, we're still giving those scholarships out. He was a good man. Do you wish to comment about Jack?
Just that I had the privilege of meeting him when I was commissioner before. He was just like you said, very kind, very generous, very community-minded man. Of course, his family business, I don't know how many generations it had been in, but I read once, and you may know this, Butts Florist, which is still open in Newcastle under that name, is one of the oldest continually operated florists in the state of Pennsylvania. But yeah, he was a true gentleman. And then, of course, another gentleman that I knew very well through family was Sam Biasucci. He was on that committee for many years. And in fact, a few years ago, he was honored as one of the, every year they pick somebody in the community to honor, but at the same time, that the reason for the dinner is to draw people in to raise money to replenish the scholarship fund. So it's a great legacy that Jack left.
And his real name was John. Everybody called him Jack. But in case you do any type of genealogy, That was his first name, John Butts. But I miss Jack. He was a dear friend. I really miss him.
Well, he sounds like a person I would like to be related to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because he was a good man. Anything else? Well, we thank you both. We appreciate your coming to our meetings, and thank you for your service as election day workers. Makes for a long day, but it's certainly an important part of our process that we follow in this country. Closing comments from Mr. Burek.
Two real quick things, if I could. I appreciate your questions, I really do. Many people don't realize I've worked in government at every level. As Commissioner Vogler said, the county runs on a calendar fiscal year, meaning January 1 through December 31st. And you probably know this, but some people don't, unless you work in government. The state of Pennsylvania runs on a fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th, and then the federal government runs on a fiscal year of October 1 through September 30th. So sometimes throughout the year, if we receive state and federal grants, you'll see, the state fiscal year crosses calendar years, but the county runs from January through December. We're currently working under Joe's leadership, with the commissioner's involvement, on our 2024 budget, which before I leave at the end of the year, we have to approve the budget. And again, it's what we anticipate, what we'll bring in, what we anticipate what we spend. But if sometimes during the course of the year, sometimes we get additional money, or sometimes additional expenses crop up, and then that's what requires these transfers. But the controller's office can't pay a bill unless there's money in a particular line item. Like he said, the probation, sheriff, different departments have vehicles. Sometimes they get a flat tire, or a flat tire wears out unexpectedly, something like that. So the various expenses crop up that we can't control. Just one last thing, to concur with what Commissioner Vogler said. I can't answer specifically for Shenango Township. You would have to ask them, but I live in the city of Newcastle, very familiar. Here's what happened in the past. Properties would be neglected for years. The buildings would be ready to fall down. And the property owners, as they had put money in the house, they also didn't pay their taxes. So it eventually goes up for sale in the repository. Well, somebody comes by and says, oh, I can fix that house up. And they bid $500 on it. And then when they get in there, sometimes they find out that it would take $50,000 or $100,000 to fix the property up to code. And they don't have the money. So these properties just linger. So what the city of Newcastle did is they put in, if a house is condemned by code enforcement, nobody can come in and buy it through repository unless they put up a bond showing they have enough money. Now, if you come in and say, I do want to buy it, but look, I have this much money and I can cover the cost, then the city would agree to sell it. But they don't want to sell it to somebody who thinks they can go in and fix it up. And as you know, if you've ever done home renovation, you think, oh, I'll do this for X amount of dollars. Well, once you get a contractor in there, oh my goodness, the price is double. I recently had that unfortunate experience. I had 2 contractors come to my house, give me bids on work. I had X amount of dollars saved for those 2 projects. Well, the price of one of them was more than that. And so I had to go out and get multiple bids to try to save a little bit of money. But that's the reason I do that, is so people don't buy properties without the financial wherewithal to fix it up. So I assume that's what Shenango did there. But excellent questions.
Vanessa or Joe, have we forgotten anything to your knowledge?
No.
Okay, well, we thank you both for joining us today. Mr. Burek, appreciate all your help, and I would entertain then a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I will second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed, the same sign. Motion carries, and we are now adjourned. Mr. Vanasco will turn off the computer.
But we won't be here next week. We're going to a Halloween party
Oh, that's
at the
nice.
senior center.